What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the All In Podcast, a podcast for casual leaguers. I am the League Dad, and today I am joined by Kevin Shee, Mitchell, who we haven't seen in a while, but we're glad to see him today, and Nerdy, you know him, he's been a regular here. And today we're coming at you with a competitive segment, talking all about LCS Week 1. Lots of action. I don't know if it was good action, bad action, but no matter what it is, we're going to talk about it all here today. So first off, let me just get your thoughts, and anybody can jump in here. Thoughts on the first week back into the summer split 2019 of LCS. What were your initial impressions of NA looking at the LCS?
Yikes. I don't know.
Yikes.
Somebody didn't watch MSI, I guess. Or maybe... maybe they checked the stats of the teams and were like, oh, hang on. Oh, I saw they were playing loads of Zyra Khan. Oh, what's Jarvan surely good? Is he? Is he good? And then they just pick him anyway. He is pretty good, but it was okay. 1 week is nothing to go off. The first week of any split.
Yeah, let's let the overreactions begin now, right? But that's okay. I think that's the whole point of us, is to talk about these things and the hypotheticals. And, I listened to the dive before and hearing all of their predictions and then seeing them all not come true is what it's all about. But what about you, Kevin? What did you think about LCS this week?
Yeah, I felt like it was a little messy. Like I expected a little bit cleaner play because these teams for the most part haven't been shooken up too much. A few of them have changes, but yeah, I was like a little sad that it was a little rough. I do feel a little justified in that Yuumi was picked and banned every game.
Yeah, you were right about that. Yep.
They're broken. I've been preaching it. So yeah, pretty happy about that part. I guess that's something to hang on to.
What about you, Mitchell? How were your initial thoughts, LCS Week 1?
It's a little messy. Honestly, a lot of teams feel like they're forgetting fundamentals, like play to your strong side stuff, or don't fight for every dragon. Just really simple things that players who have been around for a while, they should kind of know these things. But we just get classic NA Fiesta first week, so it was fun to watch.
All right, let's start with this. What do you guys think was the best game out of the 2 days?
Best game.
I'm just gonna say it because I don't like Team Liquid, but the game where Team Liquid lost. I don't even know I forgot who they were playing. Who were they playing?
Echo Fox.
Echo Fox,
the one where they went up
honestly, I thought Liquid was going to win that game, and then it's just a couple fights. And,
so did Echo Fox.
Yeah, honestly, I actually thought that Team Liquid was going to do worse than they did. They were really strong, and they just, I think, threw that game. But that's my pick. What about you guys?
I can't think of a game that particularly amazed me, and I think it's kind of unfair because we came off MSI where it's literally the tournament of champions with every best representative. So games are going to look worse, and we haven't seen a matchup that was amazing. I enjoyed watching TGS play. But to be fair, I like that team and that lineup. Okay. But they've done a lot better than I expected. So.
That is true.
Any one of those
I like
games?
it. Yeah. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah. I thought my favorite game, not besides the Liquid TSM game, I thought my favorite game was the Cloud9 FlyQuest game, actually. I thought the FlyQuest was actually pretty exciting. I saw Viper solo kill Licorice twice, which is pretty sick. He is like a second split player. And Aatrox is still really broken, and Cloud9 looked pretty solid, coming back from a pretty huge deficit. So I thought it was a super impressive game. I was only sad that the junglers were kind of irrelevant in the game, which was kind of funny to see. They were playing Vi and Hecarim and just nothing. They just kept dying.
So would it be fair to say there may be a new King of the North? Get it? North top lane? Come on now. Come on, you guys thought it was funny. Oh man, they're looking at me all funny. Come on, man, King of the North, man. Come on. No, I know it's early to say.
2 days, and if I hear the word king, I'm just gonna flip out.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that.
That's a good one.
Okay. What about you, Mitchell? Did you have a favorite game, or do you agree with any of the ones that we mentioned already?
I actually really liked the TSM versus CLG game. I thought that one was the epitome of every mistake you can make in a game, they made it, and they still came back. I don't know. And then TSM won. That game was so ridiculously back and forth with like a bunch of Fiesta. I don't know. It was fun to watch. And there's like the classic rivalry.
Yeah.
I think Skillg's down like 1,000 days or something like that.
Oh
winning.
God. Probably.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I don't know if I agree with all of you, actually. I don't know if there was a game where I was like really excited. And I do have to remind myself that we're back into regional play and it's not like tournament of champions, right? So we can't expect there to be like high intensity play already from the get go. Plus, I think also part of that is like just getting yourself back into it. Yes, most of the teams that didn't go into MSI, they had a break, but what did they do during the break, right? Like, to me, it did seem like they were a little off as far as like, what are they picking? What are they playing? Have they even played? Like, have they been scrimming? What's going on? So I think part of that is just coming back. Like, it's like the new school year, right? It's like we're just getting our way back into there and easing our way back in. So I guess let's talk about like, you know, the top 4 teams as of now. Again, week 1 is early, but let's just go through the top 4. And then we got Golden Guardians, Cloud9, Optic. They all have 2-0 records. And then Echo Fox. We have Echo Fox, TSM, Team Liquid, and CLG all 1-1. Any of those teams stand out to you as far as like their record? And I know, Nerdy, you alluded to Golden Guardians, but is there any other team that stands out to you guys being in the top there?
Stands out to me. I have no clue how. Well, I mean, they played against the 2 worst teams, but
true.
The fact that they actually won those games when their organization's like being rumored to being blown up or something is pretty impressive. I have a friend who works at Optic, so I'm like worried for his job security.
Dang, is that bad, huh?
I mean, apparently they're still around. Like they said, the deadline was like May 29th, according to that article. But like Optic's still playing, not immortal. So
right,
who knows?
Okay,
some tomfoolery going on there.
Yeah. What'd you have to say, Nerdy? I think you were about to say
something. I was gonna say I actually recall something a little further back where for this initial lineup that they put in for spring, Optic had put in like a lot more money invested. So when they obviously failed, of course that sets it like a downward spiral, and it's expected to watch them just like go, oh, you know what? Let's just leave. League of Legends is not for us. But past that, I wouldn't be surprised if they're actually like there's some kind of change in their management that has the players try more something anything. I mean, they did beat the 2 worst teams, but I don't think that it was like I don't think it's like, oh, these are the only 2 wins they're gonna get. I would like to see them go a little further. It's nice to see newer teams on top.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they really made any changes to their lineup. Am I right? So, you know, maybe some of it has to just be. Yeah, maybe it just has to do with familiarity and they're kind of just doing more of the same and the other teams are just adjusting. I don't know, but either way, they're, you know, sitting undefeated so far. They did play the 2 worst teams, but you know, one of them being 100 Thieves, which I thought might surprise us. They didn't.
I thought so too.
I thought they would surprise us. I don't know what's going on with that team. We'll get to them in a little bit because I think there's a lot more to talk about there. All right, let's talk about Golden Guardians, though. What did you guys think about their games? I mean, I was impressed. What do you guys think about Golden Guardians this week?
Yeah, I really like. Okay, sorry. I really liked Golden Guardians. Actually, they seemed very clean, like super clean, more clean than like usual. They played against FlyQuest and Echo Fox, 2 like other like mid-tier playoff teams, and I think they like were pretty handedly better than both of them by like quite a bit. They were good. Yeah.
Yeah, they played FlyQuest and Echo Fox. And, you know, we got to see Froggen on this is something they did last split where they kind of let him pick some comfort picks, even if they don't necessarily fit in the meta. So you saw him on Anivia, and then even played Aurelia. So pretty interesting to see. I've always wanted to see Froggen succeed because I think he's such a good player. He's a veteran, but he just for some reason can't ever find success, or at least a lot of success in pro play. What were you going to say, Nerdy, as far as Golden Guardians? I know you like this team.
Yeah, I think that this team was one of the teams that actually paid attention to MSI and came out like drafting fairly well. They picked Silas, they picked Aurelia. They were like, actually, these are some strong champions. Maybe let's just play aggressively. And I think the reason they looked so clean is because they just executed on. They made a play. They just were like, oh, let's just go in. These champions are strong almost all the time. Let's just go. And obviously, that's maybe not That's just not the NA style, which sounds a little ludicrous because TSM kind of do a very similar, like, oh, you know what, we've got. They would do it with Vlad and the likes, but they're like, oh, let's just go. So I'm glad to see that at least one or two of the teams pick this up. Just so happens that it has two of the players that I really like on it.
Definitely.
I do think that they show some weaknesses in. Despite them looking clean, they weren't like nothing about their team screamed, "Wow, this team's so dominant." They just looked confident in their wins. I could easily see them, not being able to beat the likes of C9 or even Liquid, but those would be
they're a
games
good
that I would
team
be
though
enjoyed to watch and contest. I could see them finishing top 4 and maybe actually making a good run in playoffs if they keep this level up or go any further.
And I mean, they showed kind of glimpses of being really good last split too, and maybe it's just going to continue in that upward spiral as they continue to develop their chemistry together. I think that's maybe part of the problem sometimes in esports compared to other traditional sports. Traditional sports, there seems to be a lot more time to kind of develop your chemistry together, just because there's more games, more practice times. Sometimes it could be like even just within a split and you're gone. So I'd like to see them develop a little bit more and see where it takes them. Do you got any thoughts on Golden Guardians there, Kevin?
Yeah, so real quick, I think that definitely and Oli looked a lot better this time around. They looked less like liabilities, but we should keep in mind that both of their games, they played as real Tahm Kench.
Yeah, I saw that.
Played the lane where like, I'm not gonna be a liability.
That's true. And if they get banned out, what do they play, right? So yeah,
and definitely his damage share was okay because he was playing Ezreal, but he's just like traditionally been a pretty low damage, quote unquote KDA player. Like that's the narrative, and like it's kind of too true. Like he has only a few games where he can play well, and it's only if they really invest in him. So I'm still worried about this team, but I'm at least cautiously optimistic now.
Hey, so here's a question for you guys. Like we've already kind of alluded to this, but Golden Guardians is one of those teams like they can be good. They show a lot of promise. What would you do? What would be the one piece if you could replace somebody? What do you think would take them to that next level of being kind of considered in the top 3?
Yeah,
definitely.
100% definitely. Yeah.
So new ADC is what you're thinking.
Forgiven comes in. Let's go.
Forgiven comes in. Wow, that'd be pretty amazing.
That would never happen.
That would never happen.
Yeah. But yeah,
Kevin's got his thinking face on. What are you gonna say, Kevin? He's got his thinking face.
I'd put definitely at a close second. I'd put contracts out. I'd take contracts out and I'd throw in Dardoch.
Actually,
Dardoch's literally doing nothing right now.
That's true.
Dardoch,
You're right.
Frog, and Hanzo on the top side. I don't give a shit who's in the bot lane at that point. It'll just be like Jackie Love and Dallin, which they're actually a lot better players than definitely. They can just sit there and do whatever they want, and the top 3 players can like hard carry. Like Dardoch should be so good in this meta. Like
that is a very good point, and that's something that actually might be feasible because Dardoch is doing nothing at the moment.
He's literally doing nothing.
I don't like Dardoch.
I mean, I don't necessarily think like he made breaking point happen for my Team Liquid boys, but
yeah,
I like to still respect good players, and I think that good players it's a travesty that a player of that caliber is on the bench.
I mean, for a reason though, because he's super toxic.
But if you ever watch LEC players, like the way they interact with each other, like there's a lot of LEC players who are super toxic who still get teams. Like I think
we're not the LCC though.
My point is like I feel like in America, and this is just me being I guess an American, like sometimes I feel like we're a little too soft. Like we're just like we don't get along, so we have to kick this guy off our team.
The problem is that people think that they're toxic, but I mean if people could see the things that happen like behind the scenes and like NBA practices, those guys are literally scuffling with each other all the time,
right.
And it's that kind of environment that breeds excellence, right? I think there's a difference between, yes, you are angry for a reason, right? You put people down maybe for a reason. And to a point that can be negative, I think, but also at the same time, it is what pushes you to become great. And you talk about all the greats in sports history. A lot of them are known for being douchebags. Let's face it. Yeah, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, all of these guys have been looked at as being douchebags.
Yeah,
these guys make Dardoch look like a really nice saint on a team.
But it's not like Dardoch is Michael Jordan. I'm not trying to say that.
No. Before the chat crucified us.
Right.
I'm just gonna say it doesn't work if you're toxic if it shut down your other teammates. So if you look at like Olay and Deathly, they don't take toxicity well. Like Olay literally benches himself if it's too much pressure. Like if you want to put Dardoch on a team, the team atmosphere has to fit. Olay, definitely Froggen, Hansler, these are not toxic people. They're not going to handle Dardoch.
I mean, chemistry is everything.
Perfect. He's super nice, and he's an aggressive jungler. It's like the perfect guy for them.
Sure, but CLG is the team that you know what? We don't need one of the best AD carries of all time. Double Lift's too toxic for us. We'll just be the best friends team. Aframu kicked from the team for being bad. Who is he? Where the hell is he? Who is he? Nobody can. You can't be friends in the LCS. You're a competitive League of Legends player. You gotta have some drive to want to be
the regular
better.
split with Dardoch, and then they kicked him, and now they're literally irrelevant. Like people who have joined in the franchise era are like, CLG was a good team before. Like people are forgetting CLG. So in my opinion, it's like I think it's a coaching staff's job. Like a good coach, like those famous coaches in like American sports, at least. I only know American sports and soccer. History, like they're the ones who like take those assholes and like help them play with like the quieter members, because like there are a lot of those players who are like team players, support players, like literally support players in like
role players,
basketball, for example, role players. That's what the word I was looking for. And they're like there to like make sure that those heads butt in a productive way. Like if he's gonna flame his teammate, like you try to like you curb it when you need to, but you let it.
It's a really good point
too, or not fester.
I think that's what coaching is primarily there for. It's to make sure the cohesion is together, because when it boils down to it, you can have all the talent in the world, but if they're not cohesive as five, then they're not going to win. Unless you're G2, I guess. G2 just seems to. Well, I don't know. Well, that's a whole different topic. But those guys just all seem like they're buddies anyway. So maybe that's the point. Exactly. There's some magic going on.
This is a really interesting discussion. So I have a counterpoint. If you were a coach, a really good coach, and you could train like a really good but toxic player, what if you were also a coach and be like, what if I didn't train this toxic player and I just trained a non-toxic player to be better?
I mean, ideally, I would agree with you, right? Like, ideally, I would, if everything in the world, I could just go on like a stats sheet and be like, not toxic, really talented. But the thing is, like a lot of these super toxic players who are like Double used to be one of those too. And like these people are toxic because or perceived as toxic because they're super driven, they're super talented, so they know that like they don't accept like just good enough, and that they like want to push hard. Like I don't know, like maybe he's just actually just an asshole, like he can't be worked with. But I have seen him, like I thought he actually this is just my opinion from watching like a couple of the reality shows as he like started to wind down a bit after the Liquid era. Like I thought he had gotten a lot more reasonable as a person compared to the Liquid days. So I'm surprised that no one would pick him up, or at least like start him. And like I just like in NA, where are you gonna get a talent of that caliber? Of course, like you could say contracts. Definitely not.
I will take him on TSM, man. I mean, I'd take him on TSM. Come on, man.
I mean, he would just be a better Acadian, and I don't think. I think that
I disagree. I think Acadian's better.
I don't know.
Watch his academy games. Dardoch is not that good. He's like pretty good.
That's because he has no motivation. Like no one has. Like no one plays that well in academy. Did you see Sneaky play down in academy when he got benched and Jensen played down there?
Are we just supposed to say that like what from over a year ago? That's how good he is. No, I see his recent games. That's what analysts do. That's how they make judgments.
But he did play some pro games last split, correct? I mean, Dardoch did.
He looked okay at the beginning of last split, yeah. Okay. Like with Crown, it wasn't that bad. But I mean, it's like, yeah, sure. I don't know.
Acadian literally wouldn't be playing right now if it weren't for Greg's wrist. So,
like, he has a narrative that he's good, but from obvious sample size for the past year, he's not been that good. He hasn't been picked up by a team. His academy games or whatever. He's still toxic, supposedly. Yeah. What are we supposed to do? We're analysts, right? We're supposed to take evidence and make points off of those.
Well, I think the thing is too is that like obviously we don't have all the insider information because we don't get to see within these orgs, but all we do have to go off of is what we've seen in track record, and unfortunately the track record is that at least in the past he was a talented player, toxic, doesn't seem to get along with teammates, seems to have made some improvements. I don't know if he's kind of gone back maybe with the dynamic between him and Medios, I don't know, and so we don't really know what that talent level is at the moment, but all we do know is that he was a good name and he's in an academy team. Feels like maybe he should be on an LCS team as a starter, and just see how that goes. But let's move on, because I think that's a really good topic. I think really good points on both sides, and very interesting as far as team dynamic goes. But let's move on to one of the other undefeated teams, C9. Hey, I mean, C9 is just that team, man. Like, I'm not a C9 fan, but I don't hate C9. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's hard to hate C9 for me. Like, if they win, I'm like, oh, okay, it's C9. And they were 2-0. They played against FlyQuest and Clutch. Not the worst teams, I guess, out of the bunch, but they did fairly well. What are you guys' thoughts? They did pull out Sonateric one game, which is interesting. And I thought they were actually going to lose that. They were getting far behind, but they seemed to bounce back and win that. So what are your thoughts on C9 this first week?
I think that
it's really good. Wait.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you can continue if you've got a point.
Okay, yeah, I think they're really good. I think they're just like, they have that same style that they've been keeping, where they're not gun shy. They really like to engage. They're not afraid to try new comps. Like, them and Golden Guardians seemed like the most prepared for week 1. They had good comps. They had good, well thought out strategies. They fell into like a couple of bad skirmishes here and there, and that's like to be expected when you engage all the time. Yeah. But I think like that's what you want from a team. That, like, a lot of the bottom tier LCS teams are just like, they're still not getting on board that this is a matter where you have to engage, you have to have like lane priority, have to have lane pressure, and they just get it. Like, they're doing exactly that. They're playing to their strong side. They pick Sonateric and they play to top side. They know what the power picks are. Silas, Aatrox. They get it. They see the meta. So yeah, really good.
Okay, cool. What about you, Nerdy?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's still the same C9 we saw in spring. They're still basically the second best team in NA. I do think that they like fluked their loss to TSM in spring semis or whenever it was. Yeah. And I think that if you were comparing the two teams, that at worst they're third best. So I didn't expect them to come into summer looking any weaker, because I think their players can play like the kind of meta, the fast-paced meta that is dictated right now. They've got strong solo laners. There's no reason why this team should ever really like be even middle of the pack. They should always be top 3, top 4 under any I agree with circumstance. You. So I think that it's not much to be expected from them. It's not like they haven't went like, oh wow, what a fantastic team, because they're already pretty damn good, right? So unless other teams start to fall behind them, I don't think there's going to be anything new to say about them until, I don't know, maybe there's some ridiculous like meta shift, or they just like fall off or something. I don't know. Like the most most talked about point is that their AD carry dresses up, right?
Cosplay.
That's true. Pretty big benefit. That's like easy.
Oh, sure, no, true. They're still like really good. Like we'll still see them at playoffs for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I had a point to make. Sure. The Camille counterpick in a Pyke that they figured out, actually super good. Holy cow.
Oh yeah.
You can't blind pick Pyke. Well, just like how the rest of the world learned that Skarner's a really good counterpick in the Rek'Sai. Like, it's literally being played everywhere as a counterpick. I think Camille could be like the Pyke counterpick now.
Definitely. Okay. What about you, Kevin? You got any thoughts on C9?
Yeah. So thoughts. I was using ProView for this one. I was watching Sven a lot, and I was watching Licorice a lot. I thought that Sanskaran was okay. I thought he could have been playing better. Actually, if we go back in time, FlyQuest was winning for a lot of that game, and it was looking kind of rough. I think that Niski's looked a lot better this split, so that's great. Like, that's a huge boon for them. But I mean, they've only played 2 games, and it was against Pobelter and who's Clutch's mid laner?
Demonte. Yeah.
Demonte. And so it's whatever. You never pick Pyke was never picked blind anyways before as a top laner, so I'm super surprised Huni would pick it. So that's
I think you did a couple times. Wonder blind picked it. Yeah.
Was it blind? Okay.
In the finals, and blind picked it in semis, I think.
All right, fair enough. And then I thought the Licorice looked okay. He looked a little rough on the Aatrox. Like, it looked like an OP pick they never expected to get, and then they did get it. And so like he did get solo killed twice by Bris Aurelia, but he team fights really well. Like, could be that Aatrox is just broken. Like, we've only seen it once out of 10 games because it was banned 9 times, but I thought C9 was looking great. The issue I have with C9 is I don't think that they showed enough new things. Like they just look like C9, a snapshot of C9 from before.
I think that's the thing is like they're good, right? We know that they're good. They just performed as expected, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But I'm just wondering, is that going to be enough, to carry them to the next level? Because that's what you're always trying to see every split.
If we send the team to Rift Rivals, like I don't expect them to beat G2. That's the thing. So like, to me, that's not exciting enough.
I expect them to maybe have a close or take a game off with because they did come up with the Camille counter pick.
Yeah, it's possible.
Maybe they have some other counter picks. Like they're definitely a team that's like they play to a certain level until they have a unique counter pick, and then it's like, oh shoot, they could actually beat us in that one game. That. So it's like something to have a little hope for. But I agree, not to the pedigree of G2 by any means.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we could say that about any of the NA teams at this point. I mean, obviously we saw a hint of that at MSI, but we'll get there when it happens, and I'll still be rooting for NA. But let's move on to the next middle of the pack, the 1-1s, right? So we got Echo Fox, TSM, Team Liquid, and CLG. Any surprises there? Echo Fox for you, is that a surprise for you? I mean, they did pull off that win, and it was good. They pulled off the win against Team Liquid. They lost to Golden Guardians, so technically they had a pretty tough tough schedule. I mean, Golden Guardians is a good team, and then Team Liquid, they pulled out 1-1, so maybe there's some promise here. What do you guys think about Echo Fox?
They should be really proud of. They should be really happy they beat Team Liquid because that's a win you're not supposed to get.
And to be honest, I look at their lineup and I'm not that impressed by it. I mean, I don't know. What was it that you think, kind of pulled out the win? I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think about this? I'm just opening it up here.
It's so at 25 minutes, double lift. They're chasing. They're Team Liquid are chasing Fox through mid. It's the second last one. They're chasing them through. They're chasing them from the river down into mid. And Double Lift's like, I can go forward. I can engage because we're really far ahead. But he can see Solo's separated himself a tiny bit. He just gets hit by a GP barrel, gets slowed, doesn't use Xayah just from a little bit of overcommittance. And I don't know what Jensen's doing. At the same time, Jensen's way too far, just trying to assassinate somebody, but apparently just doesn't know how to play a Kali. Guess he just forgot.
Yikes!
So they mess up that first fight. Let's Yasui's their Fox's mid laner, right? Let's him get in on double lift on the Silas, and I'm like, all right, you know what? You can throw one fight, you lose a turret, it's fine. Bit of a mess, and then they literally just go do the same thing again, except this time the entire team commits to just trolling instead of just their two main carries.
Yeah,
I don't know. Code JJ must be tilted as hell off MSI or something because he didn't really play very well in this game at all. I don't know. It's just a mess right at the end because they had the game won and they lost one team fight and they went and then they just did the same thing again and then they just lost the game because death timers. They shouldn't have lost that game at all. It's not like they hugely misplayed. It was just a mix of their players maybe overestimating how strong they were and then tilting, trolling, whatever the hell.
Well, I mean, it seems like they have a pretty tough schedule, I mean, this coming up week they play C9 and TSM, so it's really going to be a big test. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be a pretty big test. Yeah, if they win. Yeah.
Holy cow! Echo Fox is a good team all of a sudden. What?
Well, and think about this though. Okay, because maybe they steal a win, right? Like we could say that they steal a win, but that might come back later on down the road. Yeah. I mean, if they can steal a win and then win all the games that they quote unquote should win, that could put them in playoff contention, maybe a good seeding. Yeah. So
pretty crazy.
But I mean, looking at this lineup though, is this lineup? Am I missing something here? Because this lineup just doesn't look like that good of a team. But I mean, am I wrong, or are you guys seeing something I'm not?
I think it's a roster full of just really solid, not gonna lose you or win you the game. And then so when your opponent is Team Liquid throwing team fights, you're gonna win actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but who carries their games? Who do they play around? You know what I mean? Who do they play around? What?
You'd hope Rush, but
of course, right.
Something to think about is for both games they played their Academy AD carry, but I don't think he's starting. Whatever happened to Apollo?
Lost?
No, Lost is starting. They
It's
played
also starting Apollo's like academy now.
Apollo's Academy for now. I don't know
that's
why
good.
they broke up the
I'm pretty-
duo.
Apollo's so good though. Yeah.
I don't know. I swear they like Lost is still listed as their academy AD carry right now.
Well, I mean,
Really?
you can switch them freely. You
that's
just have to
true,
list them
but-
between. You just have to change the listing like
between each.
like there's like a certain
yeah.
deadline before the LCS day, like Thursday or something, that you need to submit the roster in. So it might just be Lowell Esports not updating who's the academy player right now.
Either
but
way.
it's pretty much just your sub. Your academy player is just essentially your sub.
Exactly.
So
It's true.
it's,
Okay.
it's more freeform in franchise.
All right. Let's go ahead. Did you have a point on?
No. I was just gonna transition, but you've got it covered. So go for it.
I that's fine. Go ahead, Mitchell. Do you have some?
Yeah, just like a little more about the Team Liquid Echo Fox game.
Sure.
I thought it was interesting. Like Team Liquid actually got counterpicked in 3 roles. So GP into Vlad. GP is actually favored. They self counterpicked there. They picked Rek'Sai in the first rotation and didn't ban Skarner. So they like, I don't know, Echo Fox like Team Liquided Team Liquid, you know? They got the Gangplank and they got the Skarner into Rek'Sai, and also Silas beats Akali too. And then Kaisa Galio is like a classic like lose lane, but you get to kill Rakan in the mid game team fight. So still, I don't know, like Team Liquid surprisingly got ahead in the early game, but they felt pretty destined to lose. Like even so, like their team comp was just not. I don't know. They just Echo Fox had a much better draft than them too.
Yeah, I agree that they had a better draft. I'm not sure if Fox were necessarily destined to win from their draft, because you still have to execute well, but they definitely once I saw the GP coming in, I'm like, Impact's going to be playing Vlad. All right then. Okay.
Yeah.
Self counterpick. He should have picked the Swain that he hovered. I was so confused. I was like, why didn't he pick Swain in the GP? He got beat by that, but like Wonder beat him with Swain GP in the finals. So
yeah,
whatever.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, again, Team Liquid is just coming off their win. I'm surprised, honestly. Them demolishing TSM like that was disheartening for me as a TSM fan. Just like, first of all, TSM like beat themselves there. I'm like, what are they picking? Like it just made no sense to me. Yeah, let's talk about it, because TSM is in this middle of the pack thing, and I honestly thought TSM was going to take the win just because they've had a much longer time off. I mean, literally, if what they were saying is true, I think Liquid only had like a day before, like to actually start scrimming, because most a couple days, and so I am just really like baffled that TSM lost in the fashion that they lost, because first of all, their drafts into the actual game itself, it just felt like TSM was just doing nothing. Like it just felt like they were doing nothing.
If MSI if MSI has taught us nothing, it's that less scrim time actually makes you win tournaments. Come on,
maybe.
If you don't practice, then nobody knows what you're playing and you win.
Take risk to win finals.
That TSM game was just
really bad.
Yes.
So like, to use like some more specific terms, like to try to break it down a little bit, I think what the problem was that like, I think that TSM they had a game plan. Like they were like, we have the Azir, we have the Ezreal, they're like pretty safe, we'll scale up really hard, but then they started just fighting. They just kept on trying to take like, Liquid's like, we have Olaf, Kennen, Silas, Zyrakan, and we want to take a fight. And then TSM would just like, they would handshake it. They'd be like, hey, yeah, of course, let's take a fight. And
it makes no sense to me.
Yeah, like Xmithy outclassed Acadian in this specific game, but Bjergsen just looked out of his element. He looked like he hadn't touched Azir since like the last time he touched Azir, which was like season 7.
Yeah,
he teleported and immediately inted on the bottom.
It made no sense. I mean, honestly, like to me, just that whole team is a scaling team for TSM, and it just didn't make sense. And to be honest, I don't know. Like, okay, yes, it makes sense that you maybe want to have a late game presence, but they had no early game, and then it just feels like do something, right? Like any of their lanes, like. I mean, they needed to do something in some lane and try to get prio somewhere, but all their lanes are just so like safe and like, you know, waiting to scale type lanes, that it just felt like the game, they just handed the game to Team Liquid and here, slowly take it away from us, and they didn't even try to make any plays or do anything. But what are your thoughts on that, Mitchell? What were your thoughts on the game?
I would have been happier if Team TSM, like, you know, obviously played around their drafts, played a bit more quietly and like succeeded like objectives and stuff, or like what they had Aurelia Sejuani, really strong combo. I would have also been happy even if they lost a couple fights here, as long as they got like a couple of kills onto the Aurelia. Just gank top over and over and over again. Just gank the Kennen. Aurelia wins against Kennen in all ins. Sejuani is super good with Aurelia in 2v2s. I don't know if you can beat Kennen Olaf, but you definitely at least get a kill or two. And just play around the split push. Like, don't have Bjergsen on TP. I think give him a combat summoner, because like, what are you gonna do TPing as a Zir when you're behind in the early game, because your bottom half is just behind the whole game. Yeah. I think they just could have played around like certain parts of their draft a lot better. Play it to your strong side. You know, don't TP in Azir in. For Team Liquid's side, they really just were like, you know, we haven't scrimmed in a while. We're just gonna play MSI comp and just do the normal thing, and it worked out.
Well, to be honest, they played Zyra Khan, which was I mean, that was something that I don't think we saw, right? Like
IG played it a lot, so
I mean, as far as NA teams, so NA teams had never played Zyra Khan in a long time. I think last split they played it once, twice, or maybe
played it a few times. I know Apollo Hakuho just pulled it out once in a while, because that's what they're kind of known for. But
it's one of those things where like teams should know how to play Zyra Khan. It's been in the meta for like 2 years now, so I don't know.
That's true.
There's a new Rakan, though.
Yeah, new Rakan. That's right. Okay. Any other thoughts on the game before we move on?
I think that it was probably just a fluky game. Even though I'm a Liquid fan, I don't think that this is super indicative of TSM's form. I think that the first week TSM was looking kind of rough, but I don't suspect that they'll keep being this rough. I think that we can go on to TSM actually later. If we talk about TSM later, I'll just talk about that.
Yeah, go ahead and transition to TSM.
Yeah,
TSM
so
now.
I think that TSM showing a willingness to use Grig is a really good sign too. Like, I think that Grig played pretty well actually in their win. For the most part, his Hecarim's a little rusty, but like, he played well. It looked like they had a lot of proactivity. I mean, they played Center Tark, so it's a little hard to judge, but I think that TSM is just trying out like the super meta comps they saw at MSI, and like trying out to see which ones work on stage. So I wouldn't say that this week is like the worst. Like, TSM usually heats up. If they start weak, they usually heat up. So I'm not super concerned about TSM, and if anything, I still think that they showed a lot of potential. Like, I think that Zen played well. I think that Smoothie played all right, and I think that Broken Blade's still looking like the playoff Broken Blade and like second half Broken Blade, not first half Broken Blade. So that's good.
Yeah.
And I'm confident the Bjergsen will show up eventually.
I'm always, he's one of those guys you're always like, okay, he'll be fine. It's not gonna be a big deal. Okay. So, any other thoughts on TSM?
TSM versus CLG. I don't know. I think honestly, actually, the TSM games were the most interesting ones. Just watching TSM as like a team, but the TSM versus CLG game, like, they obviously won it in the late game. They got to rely on the Somateric. But I'm just maybe you don't have to do it. And maybe teams obviously are smarter and know better than me. But from what I've known and heard is that if you pick Jace top lane, you're supposed to play around it. Yeah, they left Broken Blade on the Jace on an island for the first 15 minutes. And then he did come into like team fights and clean up a bunch of kills and get some good poke. But I don't know, just gank for Broken Blade. Like, you blew his flash on the Rumble and you didn't come back to it. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with that. I think also Broken Blade is a player that you can do that. I mean, he's skilled enough, you know. He's not like,
he's so good.
Yeah, he's very good. And I think, you know, Bjergsen is obviously still really good, but as far as like straight up carry mechanical potential, I think Broken Blade is that player. And so if you want anybody to snowball, it's probably Broken Blade, because he can pop off, you know. So I have to agree with you on that.
I actually would disagree. I would say, like, in generally, the rule of thumb is yes, you should be playing around the Jace, especially if your Jace player is like getting ahead. But the thing about their comp was they're playing Sonatar Zillion with a Hecarim. So like the point is you need to just make sure that as long as your bot lane doesn't feed their asses off or like set on fire, you just need to like make sure they're stable. If they make it through the laning phase, the game's over. Yeah. It's just auto over. It doesn't matter. Jace is like not the focal point of this comp. The focal point of this comp is the Hecarim Zillion, like the bottom 4 players. Because like that, once they like get past 25 minutes, like you saw what happened, right? They were losing, and suddenly they just ran over CLG.
They got the Sonatar comp, and they just like stalled out to win.
So what Jace like covers in that comp is actually he's just like the guy who just absorbs pressure. So like the jungler can't just easily decide, oh, I'm gonna camp bot, but if I can't bot, then my top laner is gonna get absolutely destroyed, and I'm gonna lose every turret, and then bot lane can just lane swap and then get a free lane. So I think that TSM played it fine. I think that their screw ups in the middle were a little concerning, but for the most part, that's how you're supposed to play the comp.
I think their screw ups came from playing it wrong, actually, because you're supposed to like let your bot lane scale into the 25-minute mark, right? Yeah, they kept ganking for bottom lane and getting it turned around. That's how they fell behind, actually.
Right.
So I would like agree with you in the theory, but they actually did not execute it. They ganked for bot lane, got it turned around. TPs came in, disjointed TPs from the top lane because Broken Blade got ganked like 3 times by the by Ruin and Wiggly, and that's actually how they fell behind. Because gank top lane worked out for CLG, then mismatched TPs had them win the bot lane fight in that big gank. So,
I think the idea was right. I just think they executed poorly. Like there's no reason to have those gank spot get turned.
I mean, both games it seems like they executed their drafts poorly. So I think if one thing we've learned and take notes on TSM is they need to play their drafts correctly. Like you got the draft, play the game correctly. I want to move on because there's a lot of stuff to talk about. I want to frame it like this. I want to talk about the bottom part, just because the bottom half of the bottom of the standings here, specifically 100 Thieves, because that's a team where we're all kind of looking to, and then we'll move on to coming up this week. So let's talk about 100 Thieves here. This is a lot. So they did make a change. They got Saligo now. I don't know if that is anything. I mean, he's decent, but they also have Amazing in the jungle. But this is a lineup that I think even last split everybody was thinking, okay, they're going to turn it around. But towards the end, it was evident there's something going on internally there, because they look like they're not even trying. And this first week, it looked more of the same. Like, what is happening with this organization? I think it goes beyond a team, like the team play here, and just there's something else going on. What are your thoughts on 100 Thieves? Nerdy, we haven't heard from you in a second. Let's start with you.
Well, I mean, it's really hard to say when you look at like the roster on paper, because I don't think Amazing being an addition is like, oh wow, like what a horrible player, they didn't do anything. The mid laner isn't anything to shout home about, but when you've got Someday and Bang, you go, oh wow, this should be a fantastic team. I think maybe the problem is that there's a lack of communication from or clear communication from top lane, so Someday can't be the Someday that you would see in Korea, so that kind of removes him from the equation of being the Someday that you would expect and put him at like maybe like a mid-tier LCS top laner. I also think that, and this is, I could talk about this for hours at this point, I think Bang's overrated. So I think that Bang being an addition to this roster, he has the same issue that Someday does, except he's in a lane where he has to communicate all the time. This, so everyone's like, oh, he's 2-time world champion, he should be amazing. No, I don't think that he's just the same as Piglet was when he came into NLCS. Like, he puts up solid performances, but like if his team is bad, then his team is bad, and he's not going to be able to solo carry this. Aframu is kind of washed up and makes plenty of mistakes, more so than you'd expect for an LCS starter. I think it's fair to say that since the track record that he's presented to us between last split and his last split of CLG just shows that he's really not the Aframu that we expected. And part of that you can assume is that his synergy and communication with his bot
I think part of it, it's got to be communication. And I think
just
I mean,
a
he
lot
was
to go wrong.
coming from an org where, you know, he was the man, he was the shot caller. Coming in here, I'm wondering if that dynamic changes a little bit when you got someone like Bang and Someday, not only with the language barrier, but you know, maybe the dynamic is not there. You know, you're not seen as like the primary shot caller, because it seems like so many times there's such a big disconnect, and half the time it looks like Afromoo's just inting, but part of it might just be because he's like, okay, let's go, and everybody's like, I'm not going with you, and it just seems like he's left out to dry. So it is very apparent that there's a disconnect there, and I'm wondering how much of that is just Afromoo being washed up, or the team just not saying. Yeah, language, or part of it just like Afromoo not being seen as you're our shot caller, you're our leader, you know, because that's what he's been used to. Let me get your thoughts on that, Mitchell. What are your thoughts on 100 Thieves right now?
100 Thieves is, I think it's still too early to say anything. They said on the broadcast that Amazing actually flew in from customs right before their first game on Saturday.
Right.
So I don't know if they actually had any practice or scrim time together. So I mean, I think this next week, if they still do poorly, then we can definitely start to say like, yeah, I think they're just bad. But until we see next week when they've had a full week of scrims, maybe we reserve some judgment. I'd actually like to talk a little bit about Amazing and Meteos.
Sure.
So they were both 100 Thieves junglers. 100 Amazing and Meteos both have this thing where like they used to be on really top teams, Cloud9 and TSM, and then afterwards they like jumped around and filled in as like junglers for like a split or like a year or something to a bunch of different teams. So like Amazing to a bunch of different teams in Europe, like Splice, and then like Meteos went on Phoenix One and now Optic and stuff like that. And they always tend to like turn around bad teams, is what I've noticed. Like when Amazing came in for Splice, I think like they went from like a mid to low bottom tier team all the way to like playoffs, like second place in that one split. And then Meteos, he brought Phoenix One from like being the 10th place team to like the third place team in playoffs. So I think these junglers are both really good if like, I don't know, you just like give them the right tools. But then now we're seeing that they're both on rosters that are heavily Korean, and they're both struggling super hard, and like they can't communicate. So I think they're just heavy, like they're not crazy mechanical gods, but they're heavy like communication jugglers, very cerebral, very smart, good pathing, know to shot call, like know how to get good games. But you give them like 4 Korean players, and
that's going to be tough. Yeah, that's a tough barrier to get over. Yeah, for sure. All right, what about you, Kevin? Thoughts on 100 Thieves?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Mitchell. I think that like give some leeway time for Amazing and Sleeko to like mesh into the team. I mean, it's a new roster. Like we always like give a lot of like time to other rosters when they make a new roster. So I think it's only fair. My biggest concern for this team, other than like the communication issues, is like one, Bang and Someday, I've never heard them speak English ever. Like I've never heard them even make an attempt to speak English on an interview or like on a stream. They just always speak Korean if possible, which
a couple memes here
some days a little bit has less of an excuse than Bang. Bang's at least kind of fresh here, but it just reminds me of like how Piglet just like almost refused to speak English until like recently. It's been like 4 years, right?
It's true.
So that's a huge issue with communication. Like I know that Afro is like he's a talker. Like even if he's the best shot call in the world, it doesn't matter if you can't be understood, and you can only keep things to ooga ooga go in. Like that's not gonna do shit, right?
Yeah.
And then my second major concern for 100 Thieves going forward is that I think Afro still does need to clean up his mechanical play, though. Like whether or not he is not getting like everyone to follow up at the right time, that's fine. Like, you know, that if they don't follow up at the right time, that's their fault. But you're watching the plays, at least from the pro view, it's like, holy shit, what are you doing, man? Like sometimes it just looks like he's like throwing, like sometimes you like, you know how you like just lose your mental when you start losing in the game. Like that's feels like he just starts like level 1 is just like he's already got that switch on. So it's like once you start winning, everything starts to click usually. But I don't know if they can. I think their schedule's a little easier next week, but
I think they yeah, I know. I mean, honestly, I think I really do think that it's part of, they're going to have to come up with some form of communication, whether it's like keywords like gank now, go, and like someone needs to be designated as like I have priority on the call. Like, you know, if it's bot lane, then it's Afromoo. If it's, you know, somewhere else, maybe it's Amazing. But I think either way, communication definitely seems to be a big problem, and we'll just have to see if they can fix that. All right, I want to move on now to the upcoming week and talk a little bit about that. But before I do, let's just go over a couple of the stats from week 1. So you mentioned Aatrox was one of the most banned champs. Do you know who the other one is, if you hadn't looked already?
It's got to be Yuumi.
It's Yuumi, yeah. So Yuumi definitely. She did, I think, go through once, and I can't remember if they won or not.
CLG got it.
Did they win?
Yeah, they won.
Okay, so Yuumi. Yeah, definitely. And then I like going back to the Zyra Khan, where we didn't really see it much last play. It was picked a lot. So Zaya was the most picked ADC at 8, and Rakan was the most picked support at 5. So interesting to see there. And then, like I said, we did see the Pyke. The Pyke was tied for the second most picked top lane. So that's pretty interesting to see Pyke going up there.
I think it lost all of its games.
I think it lost all of its games, but the fact that they're trying, it looks like NA might be trying to do something here, but I just feel like, again, we're kind of behind on that. I feel like maybe we should try to figure something out. But
did anybody play Halo Blades Pyke? I don't remember, but that's terrorizing solo queue right now. Halo Blades Pyke. Yeah.
I don't think I don't know if I actually even looked, but
I didn't.
You never know.
I think they were like not.
I don't know if it's really good. A lot of people playing it.
All right. Okay. Well, let's look at the upcoming schedule. Have you guys taken a look at the LCS Week 2 schedule?
Yes.
Has there any game? What game are you most excited about?
Cloud9 versus Echo Fox. Who's gonna win?
Cloud9 Echo Fox. Okay.
I mean, I think Cloud9's gonna win, but what if Echo Fox actually beats them? Then we have to say that they're potentially a good team. Like, don't just fluke against both Cloud9 and Team Liquid in a row, right?
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see.
I mean, G2 did lose to the Vietnamese team multiple times in a row. So
that team's really good.
Yeah, PvP.
They beat the MSI World Champions. What are you talking about? They must.
I mean, that means
team.
LCS is really good for 5-0ing them. So
exactly.
Also, we beat World Champions IG.
That is true.
These are still facts. These are real facts.
These are just facts. Yeah, C9 Echo Fox I think will be an interesting game for the reasons you mentioned. I mean, again, it's only week 2, but if Fox can somehow get a win on C9, then we have to pay attention, because it's like they've taken teams from the top, wins from the top arguably two teams of NA. So that would be interesting to watch. I think another game interesting is TSM FlyQuest, just because those are two top teams. And then I think for me, the most interesting game is on Sunday. Cloud9 Golden Guardians. I'd love to see that game. What are you guys' thoughts going into that game? What are you guys thinking? These are two 2-0 teams. Yeah, surprisingly even. I think you could say that.
I would say that, I still think Niski, or I think Froggen's better than Niski right now in terms of play, but not by a huge margin. I think that Sven is not playing super well yet, even though they won both games. So I'd like to see how Golden Guardians does there. A little worried about that. But I think Golden Guardians has a solid shot. I think C9 is still obviously favored, but I think Golden Guardians looks like much stronger than last year during the regular season. Because I don't think their record against Cloud9 was really good last year.
I think it also depends on who's going to be red side. If Froggen or Hunkster
is really important.
Or less.
Yeah. I think Froggen counterpick could actually just be game deciding. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay. Who do you guys think? Make your prediction then. Who do you think is going to win that game?
Golden Guardians. Let's go.
Golden Guardians. The Golden Gamers.
Okay. So, what about you, Kevin? Are you on the Golden Guardians hype train? I'm writing these down, by the way.
Yeah, you should write them down.
So Nerdius. Okay, I'm going for C9.
Guardians, but my head's going C9 too.
Yeah, I'm going C9.
I got my GGS LCS pass, so I'm banking on this.
That's funny.
Yeah, I like Golden Guardians, but I don't think they're there yet.
Okay. Here's another question for week 2. Will 100 Thieves get a win? I'm going to write this down too. They're playing Team Liquid and they're playing Clutch. Team Liquid and then Clutch.
I think they could beat Clutch. I think Clutch can get really far ahead and then just throw. And
all right, so Mitchell says yes. Kevin?
Yes, they'll beat Clutch. They won't beat Team Liquid. It's not happening.
Okay, Nerdy, you think yes?
Yeah, same. I think that Clutch is not good.
All right, I'm going to say no because I don't think they could fix their issues within 1 week, honestly. Ooh. And if it's true that Amazing just came right before that, I don't think a week is enough for them to get situated, in my honest opinion. So we'll have to see. I'll take a different approach there as it goes on. Do you think? Okay, so here's another question. Do you think the top 4 as it is now, or top 3? I think all the undefeated ones. So we have Golden Guardians, Cloud9, Optic. Who remains undefeated there? I wanna get your thoughts on that. And you can take a look at the schedule.
Because if they're playing Clutch, and I assume that they beat C9, they'd have to be undefeated.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so you're saying
just because
you're saying Golden Guardians. Okay, so Mitchell and Nerdy are both saying Golden Guardians. Yeah, I think we have some Golden Guardians fans here.
I mean, it's got to be Cloud9 because literally, I think Cloud9 is going to be Golden Guardians. And I don't think they're going to lose the Echo Fox. So.
You have to stay true to your prediction.
We got to be. I mean, it's consistent. Yeah. It's
All right. So we're
Optic could.
Yeah, I think Optic could.
With their schedule, they can, but I don't think that they're supposed to be an undefeated.
I don't think they'll be FlyQuest though, but I think that they could.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely could. I want to see ADTF instead of APTF though. I don't know why Crown played APTF.
I really wanted to see that too. I wanted to see the Trinity Force TF.
Oh, I know. I've been playing it. I'm really bad at it, but it's fun. It's so fun. Like I'm really terrible at it. And
do they play?
My team's always like
Triforce? I haven't seen it ever in my game.
Yeah,
it's mid lane.
Okay. I've seen some top lane.
You take Klepto.
It's really good.
Klepto. Yeah.
I can see the pain already. Okay.
Yeah,
it's really just supposed to be more consistent. Yeah, it's really it's fun. It's super fun. Your team is probably going to be like, what? Yeah, it's pretty interesting. But all right, so here's the last question for you guys. Does TSM go 0-2 this week? Ooh. They are playing FlyQuest and Echo Fox.
I think it's pretty high likeliness that they go, not like I would say like 60-40 they go 0-2 actually. I actually think the other two teams.
No, you can only pick yes or no here, Mitchell. That's how this game works, my friend.
Damn.
Laying down the law.
Yeah, I mean that's the point of predictions. You got to be all in or all out. What do you, Kevin? Do you think they're 0-2?
No. What?
Okay, you'll go last.
We're talking about TSM, right?
TSM, yeah. Do they go 0-2?
What world did I just step into? Of course not.
So okay, Kevin's saying
Echo Fox.
Okay, Kevin's definitely saying heck no. Okay, Nerdy.
On the Echo Fox trains, maybe.
I mean. The smart answer is, of course, they don't go 0-2. There's no way, but part of me really wants to say yes, just because I want to live in that reality. I wish that I could.
All right.
No, there's no way. I think they're too naturally good to find themselves losing to FlyQuest and Echo Fox.
I do think that. Well, let me let Mitchell answer, and then I'll say my analysis.
Man, they both said they weren't going to go 0-2.
Yeah,
I'm going to say they're going 0-2. Let's go.
There it is.
Fox. Let's go FlyQuest. Right. We need
some
blood.
I think obviously I think Echo Fox. I do think TSM beats Echo Fox. I don't. The FlyQuest game could be interesting. So
yeah.
I'd like to see. And to be honest, both those games, like we just said, even though TSM won their second game, I do feel like they did not execute properly on their comps. I also feel like they're just read on the meta right now is funny to me. I just don't even know why they're picking the things that they're picking. So honestly, I do think they could lose to FlyQuest. I don't think they'll lose to Echo Fox. So for that reason, I'm going to say that they don't go 0-2. 0-1 is my prediction, but
1-1.
Oh,
1-1.
I mean 1-1. Yeah, 1-1. 1-1. That's what I meant. Yeah, 1-1. 0-1. They're just not going to show up. They're just going to be like, you know what? I'm just not going to play. It's fine.
Echo Fox not worth it.
Exactly. All right. Anything else you guys want to throw in for week 2? Any predictions? Any bold statements you want to say regarding any team or any matchup, any champion? That you might see. Anything? I'll go to each of you guys if you have anything. If not, then it's fine. But let's start with you, Nerdy. Any bold predictions?
I think I'm off the predicting champions because I'm really upset that I didn't get to see Leona at MSI, even though I had for weeks and weeks. I was like, dude,
was that what you were saying?
Leona game.
Every show he's been on.
He said Leona.
I don't understand. I felt something in here, I felt it, and now I'm like, God. But I got to see Froggens and Nivea last week. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think that That was hype. Maybe we'll see
Yeah.
that again. Or maybe
I like
Victor.
it.
We might see as Victor. He carried with Victor last season as well. So
Yeah.
last season, last split.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. What about you, Kevin? Any bold predictions that you got?
I mean, I didn't think this was bold until now, but I think TSM's going to curb stomp FlyQuest, and they're going to put Echo Fox in the dumpster next week. Like, I'm not a TSM fan. Like, everyone knows that. But
yeah,
I'm
that's
just
true.
like looking at their team. I'm looking at what they're trying to do, and I think they're just going to stop fooling around next week, and they're going to kick their asses. I mean, I also think Liquid's going to go 2-0, but that's not really bold. So.
Okay. All right. What about you, Mitchell?
I think we could see Zach. He could pop
Ooh,
up.
What? They're playing on 9. Wait. Are they playing on 9/11 or 9/10?
No, if they're playing on 9/11, that's what my prediction is. If they're playing on
so
9/10,
you say the new Zach or the reverted Zach?
Reverted Zach, yeah. I think we could see him.
Good.
His ult is just so much better.
I heard Meteos say that I heard Meteos say that Zach was just poop, but that was
Zach is the least played character in the jungle right now in the world. On
but he just
9/11.
got reworked. He literally just got reworked. People are
like
His ult's worse. I don't know. How
okay, well, this is called bold prediction for a reason. So you stick by that, Mitch.
I see it.
Okay.
I mean, I would love to see
it.
If we see it, if we see this, I'm gonna take this clip and play it for you guys next time because y'all are hating on the Zach. So I can't wait to see if he's picked. All right. Well, that's about yeah, I do too. That's about all the time we got for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you got any questions or want to throw any questions at us, you can email us at theallinpodcast@gmail.com or tweet us at theallinpodcast. I want to thank my co-hosts Kevin, Mitchell, Nerdy. Thank you guys for being here, sharing your insights. But until next time, guys, enjoy your climb on the Rift. Try not to be too toxic, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.